This is Bulletin as well as Community Anchor Academy. Pikes Peak Bulletin works really hard to put together forums such as you're going to witness tonight. We also work really hard together to give non-biased news and try to deliver the news that nobody else wants to deliver, right? So, absolutely. And on behalf of Community Anchor Academy, what you're standing in is a place of community where we have a barbershop in the front. We do job training, job placement. We do everything we can as a community to work together and build our local GDP, right? So we do job training. We have haircuts. We have clothing closets. We partner with a lot of other nonprofits too to provide entrepreneurial training, like with Thrive. We work with so many organizations, so it's so beautiful for you guys to come down to this part of town and support the work that Community Anchor Academy is doing, as well as Pikes Peak Bulletin. So with that, I'm Joaquin Mobley. I'm the CEO founder of Community Anchor Academy, and I am the publisher of the Pikes Peak Bulletin. We got a special treat for you guys tonight. We have some very, very important people coming through. We're going to have some really good conversation. We're going to be very respectful with one another. We're going to answer some tough questions. With that, I believe Kim is going to take it away from here. She is going to be your moderator. Kim is on the city council. She represents this district. So it's a pleasure having her around. With her a round of applause. Thank you guys. Enjoy.
All right. Good evening, everybody. How are we doing tonight? Wow, democracy is alive and well. Look at the room.
No kidding.
This is beautiful. Y'all know this is Saturday night, right? Okay, just checking. And we're not here for a comedy show. We know that too, right?
You never know.
Oh, that's true. Comedy writes itself these days, especially with politics, right? Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Kimberly Gold, and I am your city councilor for Colorado Springs District 4, which is Southeast Colorado Springs, right here, and I'm very proud to represent. This is not only my district, this is my neighborhood. So what you didn't see was my bicycle right there, because I live so close. And even if I didn't, I have an e-bike, so I can still ride. But I live so close, it was a 3-minute ride. And I do want to share a quick story and give super kudos to Mr. Mobley here, because this business is actually one of the biggest reasons I moved to the Southeast. My kiddo, who is now 17 and a senior in high school, spent a lot of time volunteering for this organization, and spent so much time. In fact, at one point there was a makerspace in this facility that was called the Echo Chamber, named after my kiddo. And when I knew I wanted to move to the Southeast, I also knew that I wanted to make it accessible for my kiddo to volunteer. So when a home opened up in Spring Creek neighborhood, we literally wrote the owners a letter and said, please, please, please let us buy this house for you. Please, please, please give us a discount. and they gave us a little discount. So we're proud residents, not just of the Southeast, but literally of this exact neighborhood. So I'm excited to host today, excited to be your moderator. A few things. We have some housekeeping rules, right? Always. So if I can have the candidates come up, we're going to have you here in alphabetical order. So we're going to start with Zuri Horowitz, Jessica Killen, Justice Lord, and Joe Reason. Justice is supposed to be.
Just. Do we have an extra chair?
Nope, just I'm just gonna go there. Oh, just hey.
Okay. So, a few housekeeping things. We do have one primary exit over here. We also have a large exit over here. In case of emergency, we will have some strapping, strong people help lift the door so that we can exit that way. The restrooms are also over there as well. We will be accepting questions. I assure you, unless you want to stay here until midnight, we will not be able to get through all the questions. But we will work really hard to group questions in categories so that we can get the intent of your question answered, all right? We know we have some favorites on the panel here, but we kindly ask that you keep this a quiet town hall so that we can maximize every single second that we have. Because intros are only 90 seconds, the answers to questions are only 90 seconds, and then closing remarks are 2 minutes apiece. We have 4 candidates, so.
I would just like to introduce myself. I'm Warren Epstein from the Bulletin, and we are on Zoom. So we'll have a few dozen people who are already on Zoom, and some of the questions may come from them as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that. Am I missing anything? Joaquin, Kevin, any announcements that I've missed? No? Okay. All right. Wow, they are just coming in. Okay, and I have to hide my paper from Zuri so she doesn't see the questions all. Okay, let me just make sure that we are good to go here. And I think we are. All right. So, oh, where's Kevin? Because he is our timer. Is our timer ready? That's the most important part because, you know, I've done candidate forums. I don't know about other candidates, but I could talk.
Yeah.
So we must keep time.
Are you timing, Kevin?
Kevin, you good for timing? Okay, so Kevin is going to be your timer here. Please keep an eye out for him. 90 seconds. And when you are at your 60-second mark, you will get a notification from Kevin so that you know to wrap it up. All right?
What's the beneficial sound? What's the
All right.
sound?
Thank you.
Yo!
All right, so listen up for your yo, and feel free to drop your question up here, and then but if you're stuck in the middle of a row, feel free to drop your questions, pass your question to the end of the row. We'll make sure we get it, okay? So it is 6:21. Let's get started. Kevin is to my left. All right, starting alphabetically, we're going to begin with opening statements. You have 1.5 minutes, 90 seconds to introduce yourself and share why you're running for Congress in CD5.
Hi guys, I'm Zuri Horowitz. I'm running for Congress in Congressional District 5, fighting for universal health care, affordable housing, and good union jobs. I'll give you a quick bit about my background. I'm an occupational therapist. I also majored in history poli-sci at Colorado College. I run People-Centered Colorado Springs with a bunch of other people that advocates for people-centered planning. So affordable housing, transit, walkability, bikeability, just making the city really serve people over cars. And then I also have volunteered on campaigns up and down. And the reason I'm running is because I feel like it's really important that we have policies that help people. I'm not taking any corporate PAC money. I'm not taking APAC money. I'm not taking lobbyist dollars. The focus of my campaign is the people that live in El Paso County in CD5 and serving those people. So making sure that when we get to Congress, I'm free to advocate for policies that will delineate between fascism and democracy. Because if we go in, if we are going to clear policies, we will do one step forward and infinitum. But we really need to make sure that we then have these more wonky things like getting money out of politics and have universal health care and have policies that help people. So thank you so much for having me. I'm not good at seeing the clock and I do talk fast, so I feel like I got it in. Okay.
I think the yo is broken.
Well, first of all,
Thank you.
Councilwoman Gold. Thank you to the Pikes Peak Bulletin. Thank you for my fellow candidates, and thank you, all of you, for being here and being engaged in a race that I think is absolutely critical to our community and honestly to the future of our country. I am running for Congress and to be your congresswoman because first and foremost, I'm a patriot. I love my country. I love Colorado, and we deserve more and better than what we are getting from Jeff Crank.
Yeah.
I am a fourth generation Colorado native. I was born and raised right here in Southern Colorado by two public school educators back in the day when you could make it to the middle class on a public school educator salary. This is the community that raised me and instilled in me my core values of selfless service and patriotism. And I took those values throughout my career, first as an Army officer and paratrooper serving my country overseas, then returning and working getting my law degree at Georgetown Law and working at USAA to help soldiers and service members and their financial services needs. I then went on to work back in public service as a leader on Capitol Hill and at the White House. And I've lived my version of the American dream. And I know that too many people in this community and too many people across our country feel that that American dream is out of reach to them and feel like the government isn't working for them. And Jeff Crank and Donald Trump are only making that worse. And we need to elect someone who's going to care for this community. Thank you. And I will promise you, no one will work harder than me for this community. I also want to say one thing. The path to flipping the House, which is critical to putting a check on the Trump administration and its overreach and its corruption, is through this district. We must win, and I am the candidate who can and will beat Jeff Crank. Thank you.
Guess it's my turn now. Okay. Well, just give me a chance to get myself together because this is really important to me. This is something that is a historical movement that's coming, and I want everybody to recognize my face and know that this is a real face that's standing before you right now. The words of the late great Booker T. Washington: few things can help an individual more than to place responsibility on them and let them know that you trust them. With that said, my name is Justice Lord, and I'm running for Congressional District 5 for a greater purpose for our people, a purpose that would unite us all in the justice that we all seek. We found a common ground in confiding in me and trusting in me that I will push to gain access for us all, and I need for us all. Some of us weren't raised, we were just managed. We weren't nurtured, we were just told to behave. Be quiet, be good, don't get upset, and don't feel. Well, family, enough is enough. We didn't get emotional education, we got emotional neglect, disguised as discipline. Now we are adults trying to build lives, hold relationships, raise children, with no blueprint for how to meet our own needs, let alone anyone else's. That's not our fault, but it is our responsibility to break that cycle. Justice is here to break that cycle. Somehow we do it every time. Somehow we thrive every single time. Even when we don't feel successful, we are. It is time for us to reparent ourselves, to learn how to comfort, not just control something. Because the world doesn't need more well-behaved adults. It needs emotionally safe and emotionally strong ones. I'm here to bridge the gap. Appreciate that. I appreciate that. I'm here to bridge the gap to justice and unity for us all by finding the common ground that we all can relate to, whether we have direct power platforms or not, whether we have direct access or not. It's crucial. I will bridge that gap or die working towards it happening. We learn to stay quiet. No one would get up, so no one would get upset. We learn to smile.
That's time, unfortunately.
I'm Justice.
Wow. To look out at this room and see so many people engaged this early in the process
Yeah.
is so incredible. Thank you, Councilmember Gold. Thanks to the Pikes Peak Bulletin. Thanks to all of you. Because I don't just see you tonight. I've seen you out there at the protest rallies. I've seen you at town halls. I've seen you at events across town. That's the engagement level that we're seeing in this community. And for those of you that I might not have met yet, my name is Joe Regan. I am a father of two amazing young men that attend public schools here in Colorado Springs. I'm a decorated combat veteran with 2 tours in Afghanistan. And I am a nonprofit leader in this community that for almost a decade now has been delivering solutions to our community's toughest problems. I am running for office again because we deserve better. You deserve better. And I think you all know that. Coming back from Afghanistan, I lost more soldiers to suicide than I did in combat. And it is something that has driven me because when we're thinking about where we're going to build, we need to be building a community that's worthy of that level of sacrifice. I'm excited for this evening's opportunity to share with that vision of what is possible. And we're excited to share just a piece of that. So thank you again, and I'm looking forward to tonight's discussion.
Thank you, everybody, for your intros. As a reminder, this is a quiet town hall. For the sake of time, we are asking you to keep all of your remarks silent. So please, you're welcome to use American Sign Language to silently clap. However, we do require this to be thank you. We do require this to be a quiet town hall.
Check it out, the South Side. Who has their questions ready? Me, always. We do what we do.
Okay, while Kevin is grabbing those questions, I did forget to recognize the elected in the room. So if you are a current elected official, if we could please have you stand so we may properly congratulate you and thank you for your service.
There you go.
Thank you. On that note, if you are any left who recently won their election, if you could please stand so we can keep the applause going. And last but certainly not least, if you have been elected and have served, if you could please stand so that we could recognize you. Looking at you, Dr. Dietrich Duncan. Thank you so much, everyone. I applaud those who have run for office, those who have served. It is a really courageous and hard thing to do. So I do want to also acknowledge that there are some folks in the room who are running for different offices, not just here, but other positions. And I wanted to acknowledge folks like Mr. Chauncey Johnson in the back over there. Okay, so let's get back on track here with our questions for our candidates today. I do also want to add, today you will find out people's party affiliations for sure. But I want you to understand that this town hall, currently we have 6 people in the running for Congress, including Congressman Jeff Crank. All 6 people were invited to tonight's event. This event was not designed to be a singular party event. This was designed to be an open town hall. So while I'm sure you will hear people's party affiliations, I hope that you keep an incredibly open mind, because we know that we should look beyond party lines, right? So on that note, let's keep it going. Colorado's 5th District has a strong identity, from our military community to small businesses, educators, and outdoor advocates. How will you ensure that all voices, not just those in one part of the district, are represented in Washington? 90 seconds, Zuri.
Hi, so somebody asked me this before, and what I'll plan to do is what making sure that I have a monthly meeting with any veteran that wants to show up, as well as veterans organizations, and then just making sure that I stay in with organizations that do good work in the community, so I have my pulse on it. Another thing I'd really like to do is make sure that if people call, whether they yell or not, ask, hey, how are you doing? Is there anything going on that you need help with? And having a list of resources for people to connect with so that they're able to get connected to where they are. So if they have a problem that we go through, is this a federal problem? Is this a county-wide problem? Is this a city problem? And then how do we help connect you with the right people so that you get what you need? And then how do we support you going forward? So that's my answer. Thanks.
Actually, is it on the stop? So I can.
90 seconds, and again, quiet town hall, ASL clapping, please. And at 90 seconds, I will call time. Okay, hi, thank you for the question, Councilwoman. I think that what we Frank is a total failure in terms of engaging with the community. You can't only engage with the people who just agree with you. Part of being a member of Congress is called the House of Representatives for a reason. You represent all the people of your district, whether they voted for you or not. And my goal and my plan is to ensure that I am engaged in all facets of the community, unaffiliated, Republicans, Democrats, and alike, making sure I'll, of course, do town halls, engage with the private sector, because I think we need to do more engagement and making sure that our community is coming together, focusing on the things that bring us together, not divide us. I think we've gotten into a point where we're so siloed and so caught up in our own echo chambers that we're not talking to each other. And I think a role of a leader in a community is to make sure that we bring our community together. And I will be focused on all that. This is, and the nice thing about me, I've done all these types of, I've been in the private sector. I know how to talk with the private sector. I'm a veteran. I know how to talk to our military community. I know how to engage with all these different facets of our amazing, disparate community here in El Paso County. Thank you. Here. I appreciate it.
Justice, 90 seconds.
I forgot I was supposed to be quiet with the ASL. I'm just so proud of us. Like, I'm so proud of what we're trying to do here. And I feel like I'm not going to stop talking until things change. I'm not going to stop fighting, researching, doing everything that I need to do in my power to make sure that our community is bridged together, that we bring ourselves to a space where we feel comfortable coming here like this. This is a lot of people that I've never seen their faces before, and I'm here in the South Side. I find myself in all adaptabilities, and the fact that you guys are all sitting here tonight tells me that we have close familial humanity, and we are ready to do this together. And we need to see something different that's going on in our house. We need to see something different that's going on in our communities. We need to see something different, period, the end. And that's what I'm going to do, bring change.
Thank you, Justice. Joe, 90 seconds.
How do you make sure all voices are represented? You elect somebody that has been a fixture of this community, that has been influencing change since been moving here. My role as a nonprofit leader in this town, I've delivered that change. I'm working with small business owners to help them grow their business, working with military spouses to help them grow their small businesses, getting out there and working on veterans issues, not just talking about them, but really being on the ground, making those connections with the individuals that are doing the difficult work. Too often, we rely on lobbyists, on lawyers to make these decisions. Where are the nonprofit leaders? Where are the people that are actually out there serving our homeless community, talking to them about what's going to work and what's not going to work for our community? At the federal level, we need to make sure that there is flexibility to empower our communities to do what they need to get done. And as a representative, the place that you should turn to find the answers to that is the nonprofit community. And that's where I've spent my entire post-service career, is working in that arena to make those connections, to figure out what works for these communities and elevate those voices in the halls of Congress.
Thank you. I did say 90 seconds, y'all, so you could use the 90 seconds. Okay, Joe, this is gonna go right back to you. As home to several major military installations, how will you advocate for the needs of service members, veterans, and military families while balancing fiscal responsibility? 90 seconds.
Well, I've been doing that for a decade. And that is exactly where I've spent most of my time. Again, as an officer, as a leader in our military, I understand the challenges that face our military community firsthand. The organizations that I've been part of are serving our military communities right now. And it's making sure that we maintain those connections. It's spending the time to meet with military spouses, making sure that we're meeting with installation commanders, making sure that decisions like removing Space Command from Colorado Springs aren't driven by political retribution, but driven by understanding of exactly why these missions are necessary, making sure that we're working to understand how we can bring new missions here as well, making sure that we're moving back from privatizing on-base housing so that commands can actually influence what's happening there, making sure that our service members have a place to live on base. It is shameful right now when we look at the fact that the basic allowance for housing does not cover cost of living here in Colorado Springs. We need to address those issues, not just because it's good for our military families, but because it's good for all of us. And so by strengthening that, by addressing affordability, we're making this community truly military friendly and making sure the resources are there to support them.
Thank you. Okay, same question goes to you, Justice, 90 seconds.
I'm a military brat, so I never actually served in the military, but I've had so many people bring me up that are in the military. And it gave me a sense of belonging. It gave me a sense of camaraderie. And for me, like I said, I'm everywhere. I'm always somewhere in some event dealing with something that has to do with the greater good of our community. So for me, finding my way on base has always been something. I have a rideshare card that allows me to get on base all year long through all bases that are in Colorado Springs. So to sit and just be able to have a regular conversation with someone who's currently active, someone who's a vet, I mean, these things are really important to me, especially the homeless vets. They're really, really awesome people, and a lot of people don't pay attention to them. A lot of people don't recognize that they have a lot of power behind their words. They have a lot of pain and history. And when you forget about where they are in life, because just because they have a pension or just because they felt like, I don't want to live under the system anymore, we still need to be there for them. And to see them living under tarps or not wanting to get some type of affordable housing because it's not accessible to them, then that's a concern for me.
And that's time. Same question to you, Jessica.
I noted in your question, Councilwoman, a reference to fiscal responsibility, and I want to focus a little bit on that, because I think Joe touched on some key pieces. Obviously, the veteran service member community is a core part of this community. But, you know, I think the biggest issue impacting our society as a whole in El Paso County is wealth and income inequality, whether you're in the military or not. And the big beautiful bill and the Trump administration and Jeff Crank are only making that worse. And what we need to do is build out a more robust middle class that includes obviously providing the services to the military community that we need. One added thing that I'd like to add to, you know, what was happening on bases right now. The DoD has cut funding for childcare centers and it's made them only available for dual military families, which is ridiculous because anyone who knows a junior military soldier cannot provide for his or her family with on only one salary. And this is another example of the haves versus the have-nots and this wealth stratification that is happening in our country, not just in the military, but for everyone. And the sign of a good and healthy society is a society that has a robust and healthy middle class. As someone who grew up in the middle class, I stand by that. I believe that we need to develop tax policies around DoD funding that make sure that we are building out a middle class, not just in the veteran community, but our community overall. Thank you.
Wow, 3 seconds. Well done. And last but certainly not least, Zuri, same question, 90 seconds. Oh, you might need a microphone.
If you've heard me at a protest. So I'll just go through some of the policies that I would like to enact. So when we're talking about being able to afford paying for veterans in the VA and fully funding the VA, there's a competitive tax plan by Michael Gratz that would make it so that 120 million people would not have to file taxes. And I can get into it afterwards. I won't just get into that. But when we talk about the 16 to 17,000 missing spaces for childcare, I've worked with reaching out to Amy Pascal and then talking about how that's impacted on different levels. So one of the reasons that that's hard is if you want to open a child care center, you have to be fully staffed ahead of time. And that's difficult because that job does not pay that much. Sorry, let me go to other policies. And so the point is we need to work on affordability, making sure we have affordable housing. We also have, when I talked to veterans, they also talked about how if you're in jail for 90+ days, you go off of disability, which oftentimes people are in jail because they're having a mental health crisis and then they don't have access to help. So working on that, because that's a federal policy that then puts them back into the federal queue and makes it really difficult for them to access benefits. And then another issue that came up was mental health and having peer counselors, and then also having scholarships for veterans to become counselors. So we kind of work to make sure that we're serving the community correctly. Thank you guys so much. There's a lot to do, but I just stay fully engaged and try to figure out how can I help you, what policies will fix it for you and fight for you.
That was exactly 90 seconds. I think I've learned the secret to keeping candidates on track is have my phone with the timer. Okay, question 3, we're gonna go right back to you, Zuri. I promise I'll give you the microphone this time. I don't know if many of you have noticed, but life is expensive these days. So what federal policies or investments would you support to make housing, transportation, and everyday living more affordable? 90 seconds.
Well, the biggest one is tackling universal health care, Medicare for all. That can be done with making sure that health insurance companies are nonprofits and very strictly regulated, making sure that hospitals are nonprofits or public, run by doctors, making sure that we have every 2 years, we have plans that decide the pricing for drugs and care, so that when you go to the doctor, you know how much you're paying, and that payment is based on your income, so that you don't go into medical debt, because that's a crazy thing that we have that other developed countries do not have. Making sure this is EMR, so that you also can track how much I've paid, what's going on. We also have to have affordable housing, making sure housing is a right, making sure that 10 to 15% of new builds are affordable, and then making sure that we include middle-class families in affordable housing. So that if you do better, if you're in affordable housing, you can have sliding scale costs so that you don't get kicked out. So that people don't struggle, go into public housing, get kicked out of public housing, and then come back in, and everyone there is desperate and no one is thriving. Instead, you can help your neighbor, you can be an example to your neighbor. And the goal is everyone deserves regular housing, and then making sure that we don't deport people who are working low-income jobs, who are doing construction, who are working in our restaurants, who are working in our fields, who actually should be paid more, who should have a right way to citizenship. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Jessica, same question.
Well, I'm gonna be honest, there's no way to attack all of the issues related to affordability in 90 seconds, even though Zuri tried, and I appreciate that. Listen, there is so much, and you're exactly right. Groceries, healthcare, utilities, housing, childcare especially here. There are a number of issues and this is something that needs to be addressed at the federal, state, and local level with our private sector partners, with our nonprofit partners. There are a number of incentives that we can provide at the federal level. I'm also going to be honest. I'm never going to make you promises that I cannot keep. Our key right now is that we have to put a check on the Trump administration and flip this house, and flip this seat. But are we going to be able to put a full public option on the books in 2027? No. I will do everything I can to make healthcare more affordable. I will work through other tax incentives and other programs and work with my local and state party to make sure that we are putting policies in place that'll move the ball forward. But the bottom line is Donald Trump will continue to be the president, unfortunately, until 2028, and we will most likely not take back the Senate. So we need to be thoughtful and practical and pragmatic and also solutions oriented about what we can do. I recognize, though, that we need to also work on making sure that incomes are going up to keep pace with all of the costs. Thank you.
Thank you. Justice, 90 seconds.
Listen, I'm living that experience right the hell now. Okay, I'm going through housing issues, dealing with the possibility of me and my family being evicted from our homes right now as we speak. So the fact that I'm sitting here still trying to fight for every single one of us sitting in this room and abroad shows you the dedication. The fact of the matter is that transportation, healthcare, I mean, look at me. You know, I'm living that hypocrisy that this is great stuff that's happening to us. I can't even get a great dentist to take care of me. Like, it's ridiculous. So for me, it's time for us to stand up together as a community, stand up together as a nation, and get this all taken care of, because everybody deserves that. Housing is a human right. Transportation is a human right. Healthcare is a human right. These things should probably be free. We have to pay for air. We need to get it together, guys. It's time for us to fight back. It's time for us to fight the administration. It's time for us to stop acting like we're so scared. It's time for us to stop acting like we don't want to speak for all people. We need to be speaking for everybody, every single one of us, everybody in this room, everybody in this nation. It's time for us to rise up. Justice for real.
Joe, same question, 90 seconds.
You know, as I'm out and about the community, this is something I hear time and time again, and not just this cycle, right? All of us have talked about the fact that the economy is not working for all of us, and we need to be able to take steps to do that. Where does that start? It starts with organized labor. And over the past year, I've been proud to stand up with the American Federation for Government Workers, to stand up for collective bargaining agreements for our government employees that are here in El Paso County. I was proud to stand with the 11 teachers, to stand up for their rights to collectively bargain, because more than anything, we need to be making that investment in our teachers. This Congress or the next Congress needs to be able to claw back the authority that has been ceded over to the executive branch. And Donald Trump single-handedly put the largest tax increase in the history of the country through his tariff policies. It is a regressive tax that impacts all of us, especially working middle-class Americans. We need to reverse that. Congress has the authority to be able to do that. We talk about insurance. Property insurance rates in El Paso County have skyrocketed because of wildfire, because of hail. We need to be able to take steps to mitigate that. That means federal grants to take care of public lands. It means making sure that our fire departments have the tools that they need to fight fires, to keep our communities firewise. And it means looking at how insurance companies are leaving the state. So if you look at what's happening in California right now, insurers are leaving the state because the risk is too high for them. How do we bring another option to the table to help mitigate that risk so that we have the opportunity to reduce those property taxes? Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. This question will go right back to you, Joe. How do you view the current state of national security? 90 seconds.
I'm sorry, I need a minute.
90
I have
seconds.
90 seconds. That's more than that's good. You know, this administration comes out there and says, we want to be strong. And what I'm seeing in the military today is anything but that. We see a military that's pushing out diversity. And yet since World War II, we've recognized the fact that diversity, in fact, does make our military much stronger. The way that this administration is pursuing foreign policy is ridiculous. What is happening right now in the Caribbean is illegal. And again, Congress needs to take back its authority to declare war. Right? Too long. And especially as someone that served in one of the longest wars in our nation's history, where consecutive administrations have pursued bad strategy and left us out there failing. And we're seeing that again today. The Trump administration pursues a policy that looks like a real estate deal to him. That's not how foreign policy works. That's not how national security works. And again, we see it right here with Space Command being removed, not because it was the right thing to do, but because it was the political thing to do. And I think those of us that have been here long enough know that there are things we need to do to make sure we're securing those military missions here. We need to expand those military missions. And again, how we take care of our veterans also impacts that next generation. If we're not taking care of veterans, the next generation will not serve.
Thank you, Joe. Same question going to you, Justice, but it looks like that Kevin is calling a timeout. So a note from our sponsor. Oh, we have a timer. All right. I think we're giving some extra time for you to come up with your answer. So, all right, where are we setting this up at? Okay. Do you mind if we continue while they sort out the clock? Okay. Okay, and since we had a little break, I will repeat the question. Justice, how do you view the current state of national security? 90 seconds.
I'm a Black trans male in America. The state of our nation is very scary to me right now because I'm raising children in this world that might have to fear the color of their skin, might have to fear their dad's, interest and camaraderie with others. I'm sitting here with the notion that people are being disappeared right off the streets, and we're watching this, we're filming these things, but who's hopping on the backs of these people? Who's hopping to stop these people from doing what they're doing? We're sitting in a nation with a man who's a complete psychopath, who has no relationship to any of us, but is controlling everything that's going on in our nation, everything that's going on in our homes. It's not okay. My mind is disrupted daily with the fact that there's a potential that my partner walks outside and she can get snatched up and put in a detention camp and I'll never see her again. That scares me. That makes me worried. But it makes me happy to step forward and to make sure that she's gonna be all right and to make sure that everyone else is gonna be all right. I'll put my life on the line for us. I'm putting my life on the line for us.
Thank you. Were you checking my timer? Okay, Jessica, same question. So when I was serving in the military, two of the key experiences I had, I worked as part of Operation Joint Endeavor, Joint Guard, doing peacekeeping operations in the Balkans. And then I did a bunch of work as an executive officer and company commander working on NATO expansion. We expanded NATO to include Poland in 1999 and some other Eastern European countries in 2004. And I saw firsthand the importance of soft power and diplomacy to our national security. And I am deeply, deeply concerned about the isolationist approach that the current administration has taken. There also used to be this old rule that actually worked, that you left politics at the water's edge, and politics did not play in foreign policy. And what we've seen, certainly with the moving of Space Command and other moves, Joe touched on a number of the lawless acts of the current administration and overreach of the current administration. We have seen just a complete abomination of what foreign policy should and be, and it's deeply dangerous to our national security. And I am deeply concerned about our path forward with our allies and how we've destroyed those alliances. And I think another key point, and it has already been touched on a little bit, but I have watched Congress cede its authority for now close to 25 years to the executive branch on a number of fronts. One of those is the war powers piece. And we must take back our authority as to have the power of the purse, to have oversight of the executive branch, and to put a check in terms of war powers and the authority of the executive branch and the actions that it's taking now. Thank you.
Hi, guys. So there's a lot, but basically, I feel that we are not a trustworthy ally to our allies at this point in time. If every 2 years, if every 4 years, we ally with dictators, and then the next 2 years we ally with our, with all of our allies in Europe, and we have love democracy, that is not a trustworthy ally. That's why it's so important that we get rid of Citizens United. And of course, that's not necessarily going to happen right away, but we need a constitutional amendment to overturn Citizens United. We need to impeach and remove everybody from this administration who has acted unconstitutionally, including disappearing people. We need to make sure that after Congress, people cannot work as lobbyists. We need to make sure that people who are in Congress cannot trade stocks. We need to make sure that SCOTUS has a enforceable code of ethics that includes not doing anything unconstitutional and not having conflicts of interest. And how do we do that so that it's not just Congress enforcing it in a constitutional manner, having other federal judges decide and judge them and remove and impeach them if they have not acted in a manner becoming of a federal judge. There is work that we can do. We have to make sure that our government is trustworthy. It cannot be that every 2 years we throw things out the window. We have to say, this is how a government functions. These are civil rights. Human rights must be respected and the Constitution must be respected.
Thank you. You have 4 seconds left. You guys are doing so well. I'm so proud. Okay, so we are going to move to question 5, and I'm going to know that it is 3 minutes until 7. We received a large stack of questions that has been organized and sorted. Thank you, Shay. So we're going to skip a few of our questions so that we can answer some more of your questions, okay? For this question, we are going to start with Jessica, and this is regarding climate and conservation. So we know that this is something that we value very much in our state of Colorado. So we'd like to know, what is your approach to balancing economic growth with environmental stewardship? 90 seconds. Well, first and foremost, and I think there's a few questions here. I think first we must balance our growth also with the issues around climate change. And to start with that, we need to elect people and elect someone to this seat who actually believes that climate change is a real thing and believes in science and facts and all those good things. And also then we'll work to focus on addressing growth in a pragmatic way that also takes into account the actualities of that we are facing massive wildfire, as Joe already mentioned with respect to insurance premiums. So we've got to manage the wildfire dangers. We also need to make sure this is something great about living here that I love is all of the public lands. And I just want to remind everyone that Jeff Crank voted to sell off public lands, which is a big no-no here in Colorado. And I think we should be focused on making sure we make the most of our public lands. We're doing growth in a smart way, once again, engaging with the local partners, with the private sector, with the builders, making sure we're doing it in a smart way. Growth is a good thing. That's why this seat is flippable now because of all the growth. But we've got to do it in a way that makes sense and is good for our community and is good for our public spaces and keeps us all safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Justice, same question, 90 seconds.
Places like Food to Power, Hillside Community Center, Chinook Center. I mean, I can name so many places that focus on climate conservation, access. We need to teach our people how to grow things, first of all. We need to teach our people to make things on their own without relying on someone else to do it for them. Because when we do that, then we could protect our climate. We could stop things from happening like global warming, which, yes, it absolutely is a real thing. And a lot of people are really, really passive about that understanding. So for us to find some type of economic growth, we need to teach our people. We need to teach them, and we need to teach them now. Because the more and more that they take away from us being able to educate ourselves, us being able to educate each other because we have to pay for everything, this is why we're having a problem right now in our society. So I feel like giving access to second chance employment is a great economic growth, giving second chances to just people who need to learn how to re-adult, because we lost that somewhere along the way. We just feel like we're just drones walking, just doing what we are supposed to do. And we need to tap into the talents. We need to tap into what we're worth in order for us to have that economic growth, and it be our economic growth, not some billionaires' economic growth, not some trillionaires' economic growth.
And that's time. Thank you. The question will now go to Zuri. I know you're ready, Joe.
All right, so one of the things I think that we've been lied to is that AI is our next technological frontier. I think our next technological frontier is green energy. It is now less expensive to have wind and solar. There are amazing, extremely fast trains. We have electric cars in China that only cost $10,000. We need to catch up. China just went to Pakistan and installed a ton of solar. And that's something that we could have done, but instead we were putting money into AI, which costs a lot of water and costs a lot of energy and is spiking people's utility rates. And that's kind of where we need to go, is train people in green energy and get up to date with what everyone else is doing in the world so that we are not left behind. And that also includes fully funding universities and making sure that we're attractive, safe places for the best and brightest to come in and get better at, get us better technologies. Because at this point, we are behind because we spent time stealing, trying to get billionaires' money with AI, which maybe it has a limited use case, but I haven't seen it. It's a tool and it can maybe be used in that way, but it should not be replacing jobs. It should not be spiking people's utilities. So we have to invest in the Green New Deal and come into the 22nd century. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Zuri. Now, Joe. 90 seconds.
I love this question. If you don't know this about me, I'm kind of a nerd. And when you get into the economics of where green energy, right? I think we all agree. When I look around this room, I see people that we're probably in universal agreement, right? Climate change is real and it is man-made. The economics behind green energy are shifting. And we look right here, just the other week, was meeting with the Sierra Club before they went in front of council to talk about the rooftop solar, right? These are ways that by investing in green energy, where we're able to strengthen our grid, increase energy independence, and make sure that we're lowering costs for ratepayers. And we see this time and time again. When you go out into rural Colorado, every ranch that you see has solar panels on it. Why? Because the argument is there. And when we start pivoting over to that economic argument, it makes a lot more sense right now. This is where we need to make investments. It doesn't happen overnight. And we need to work with stakeholders like unions to make sure that as we're transitioning, that those jobs are there. Good union jobs that pay a fair wage for all of us to live. That's how you do it. That's how you make that transition. And also locally, protecting public lands. As Jessica mentioned, we are seeing public lands get sold off to oil developers. And guess what? It's not profitable. Because as long as OPEC is around, we're embedded to the Saudis. And so making sure that we're protecting those public lands so they remain accessible to all of us. I think all of us want to be able to enjoy them.
Time. Thank you, Joe. Okay, this next question is very simple. Tell us about American healthcare.
Your personal.
And we're gonna start with you, Justice. 90 seconds.
Of course, you wouldn't make me talk about it personally. That's crazy. Clearly it sucks. I mean, we can all agree to that it sucks. And we need to do better. We need to stop acting like everybody can afford everything. We need to stop acting like we need to talk about the people that are getting the Medicaid or getting that Medicare and telling ourselves that I'm paying for that and you're lazy and you can't get this because you don't want to work. Or, like it's insanity. We need to stop acting like we all don't deserve that. Everybody deserves to be able to have proper continuum care, proper wraparound care. And when we are absent of that because we don't have that access to liaisons, we don't have access to people that directly know who we are, that can speak to us, that can speak for us. Because they don't want us speaking for ourselves, frankly. They want somebody who's got the big dollars to talk for us, to tell us how you lying in bed having 5 days of sickness means you need to hurry up and get your ass back to work. It's not time for that. It's time for us to really, really dig deep and understand that the longevity of people is growing. And they don't like that. They don't like how that looks. Big Pharma definitely doesn't like how that looks. So they're trying to take anything and everything away from us that's going to keep us safe, happy, and whole. We need to work
And
together on some.
thank you, Justice. Jessica, same question, 90 seconds. I, like everyone in this room, am deeply concerned about healthcare in America. We spend 2, sometimes 3 times as much as most developed countries to get less care and worse care. Listen, we just went through this whole shutdown that was ostensibly about the ACA subsidies. And if you look at the components of the one big, beautiful bill that are going to cut Medicaid, along with the expiring ACA subsidies, everyone in this room should expect to see their premiums hike, and you're not going to get better care for it. We have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do. I want to be realistic, though, about what we can actually do. One big piece is we do need to extend these ACA subsidies. And, I believe I was around Congress when we passed the ACA. I actually was in favor of a single payer option. I think that that's what we should, a true public option is what works and what we need. And it drove me crazy that we kowtowed to the private insurance industries and got nothing for it, not a single Republican vote. So we need to come to the table, talk about what the real issues are, how we can actually make healthcare affordable for every person in this country. And come up right now, my focus though is on shoring up the ACA, extending the subsidies, and coming up with other credits and other ways that we can improve healthcare in America. And hopefully we can get to a point where people are rational and reasonable and realize that healthcare, everyone in this room and beyond is one, and that's time, healthcare bill away from disaster. All right.
And then Joe, same question. 90 seconds.
The ACA gave us a framework to build on. And I agree that we need a public option for all. the way the system is currently set up, it favors profit over patients. We need to reverse that. At the end of the day, when you talk to healthcare providers, that's what they want to do. But I guess it was 3 months ago now. I was talking to someone at one of another event, and they were explaining to me how as a healthcare provider, their corporate owner was trying to cut staff to save money. And what was reassuring, and he said, what we're trying to do as a staff is we're going to organize to make sure that we're pushing back. We're going to use our collective voice to push back our ownership and say, no, we will advocate for our patients. I saw about a month later. I said, how'd it go? He said, it worked. They gave us the extra shifts. They knew that if we walked out, they weren't making anything. And that's where, again, providing for that collective voice through by organizing, by putting that voice so that we can advocate for patients, and now enabling those nurses, those CNAs, those doctors to have the true voice behind care. And one of the problems with the system as well is that you look at how Medicare, Medicaid reimburses. First of all, they're not reimbursing for full cost. And by the way, you pay the difference, right? Right now, we're talking about the ACA and those tax benefits going away.
And that's time.
I'll have to finish that one later.
Mary?
Hi, okay, so a big issue in healthcare is that it is for profit and the goal is not providing care. Joe brought that up. And we do need unions at all levels. I'm an occupational therapist and I also see CNAs and they're breaking their backs, moving people all day. They don't have enough staffing. They aren't being paid well enough. We need to make sure that these jobs value the people providing care for people. But we also have to regulate. We have to be heavily regulating, even including nonprofits. So UC Health had like $1 billion in excess. And instead of reinvesting that into their hospitals with better staffing and better pay, they often invest in, just buy real estate. So we have to heavily make sure that we're regulating what a nonprofit is, where that money goes. Because yes, unions are one component of it, but we also have to make sure that their goal is providing care. And that's again, talking about making sure that hospitals are run by healthcare professionals rather than administrators trying to make a buck, and that they are also nonprofits. It's also making sure that those costs are upfront and we know what they are when we go in. And truthfully, other places pay less than we do, and they are successful. You look at Japan and they pay a lot less in terms of reimbursement, but because they're heavily regulated, people are able to find that money, and also they have a lot smaller of an administrative burden. So thanks everybody. We need universal health care. We can have it if we fight for it and we aren't in somebody else's pocket.
Time. Thank you. Okay, next question. When you win, how will you utilize local Southern Colorado residents for staffing? Bonus points for utilizing Southeast residents. And you have 60 seconds for this one. We will start with Jessica. Well, as someone who's set up 2 congressional offices as a chief of staff, I know how important it is to have people on staff, both in the district and in DC, who know and understand the community and can speak to the community's needs and who grew up in those communities. And so that should always be a critical part of your staffing. And to me, it should be a nice mix of people who have policy chops and can do the hard work and do the negotiations both in DC and here, but also a huge part of being a member of the House of Representatives is constituent services and being engaged in the community. And I think that sometimes the unsung heroes of a congressional office are the people who work in that district office and engage day to day with the community and provide those constituent services and are the face for the member of Congress when they're back in DC. So I'd be focused very much on hiring people, of course, in Southeast and throughout the entire county. I think it's also good. This county has a lot of disparate factions, and I think it's important to have people in the office that represent all of those. Thank you. Thank you, Jessica. That next question, the same question, will go to Joe. 1 minute.
1 minute. Okay. Well, first of all, as a community leader, a lot of the folks that are doing that important work that would make excellent folks working these constituent services are folks that I already know, people that are already engaged in the community. Just this afternoon, I will use this opportunity to thank the Men of Influence for a wonderful Thanksgiving dinner. You guys were incredible. But it's building on those community organizations and making sure that we're finding those right people, right? Working with the local colleges and figuring out who are those young students that want to get engaged in politics. and engage them locally. Because we need more folks coming from the community. We need less folks that are getting their birth in DC, and that's where they learn politics. That's where they learn policy. We need them to come back from our community. And so working with those institutions that I already have relationships with, working with those people who already know work this community, engaging with them, hiring them, getting them in the office, and making sure that's the first phone call, right? That's the most important question we can ask someone that's elected. Who are you gonna call when you don't know the answer to that question? And that's where, as a community leader here, right, those phone numbers, your phone numbers are already in my phone.
Thank you, Joe.
Worked it.
Question goes to Justice next.
When I'm coming for all my people, straight like that. I'm coming for everybody on the South End because this is my battleground. This is my stomping grounds. You know, I came from the heart of New York City. I'm a straight Bronx kid, and I came to Colorado Springs, and the South Side was my home and still is my home to this day. I have exhausted all angles of helping, looking for my people, making sure that we're being seen, making sure that people are not forgetting about us. So I'm definitely grabbing a good few people from the South End. Probably everybody that comes into my cabinet is going to be from the South Side.
Thank you, Justice. And Zuri. 60 seconds.
Yes, so of course, I would love everybody from, we have great colleges here, UCCS, Pikes Peak College, we've got CC, and they have chops. They've got the chops here. They know the community. They're out here. We know Chauncey and Charles. We know Shay. We know Amanda. We know all these. We know Christian. We know young people who know what's going on here and are committed and in the community. And we know that there are more young people coming up who are going to rallies, who are involved. And those are the people that I want in my office. And then I want those young people to be out in the community talking and getting to know what's going on. So it's super important to me that the people that are in my office are here so that they can know what's going on here. So that's like, that would just be, those are my automatic people. I don't really want somebody from an Ivy League. Look at how well that's turned out.
Thank you, Zuri. Okay, now we are going to go to our community questions. And I just want to take a few seconds to thank Shay from Citizens Project, who is here, I'm certain, with many hats, but she was generous enough to utilize her time to sort through our questions and categorize them. And I found out that we have a list and then we have a spicy list. So we are going to make sure we mix both in together. And for the sake of time, I know that this time is going so fast, but try and get as many as we can. We are going to go to 45 seconds for each question. Yes, this is the lightning round. This is the first town hall, and we want to try and get as many of these questions answered as possible. But we're going to start with something very nice and light and fluffy. Okay. And so thank you to whomever wrote this question. What is the single best asset that you bring to this race? 45 seconds, Joe.
I think it's the community connections. Again, you look at the work that I'm doing in the nonprofit sector, the work that I do with the Colorado Springs Rotary Club. I've been part of this community and I've been making those I've been delivering those services and solutions to our community and our state. That's what I'm bringing. That's the voices I want to elevate, and that's what I bring to this race.
Thank you. Okay, Justice.
I'm the realest dude on this panel. Straight like that, and that's what I'm going to bring. I'm going to bring the realness. I'm going to bring the truth. I'm going to bring the justice to our people. And that's where I'm coming from, and that's where I'm going to stay.
Thank you. Wow, you guys are lightning round. Okay, let's go.
And get shit done.
See, now we don't even need a timer at this point.
Okay, well, watch me make this less light. I'll fight really hard. If I think something needs to get done, I will claw my way to getting it done and making sure that I represent you. I will fight so hard. You do not know how hard. I will get knocked down and I will stand back up. And that's what you can expect.
Thank you. So this question is from the spicy pile. And this question is, what is your strategy for defeating Jeff Crank? We are going to start with Jessica.
flipping a seat from red to blue, one that has never been held by a Democrat before, is quite complex and quite difficult. I think first and foremost, you have to raise resources. You have to be qualified, you have to be able to communicate your message, you have to do the job. My guess, my estimation, I think it's about right, is that it will take about $5 to $6 million. I wish we didn't have as much money in politics, but that is the reality, and we're gonna get thrown a ton of money by Jeff Frank, because this district is now on the map. And so you have to raise resources so that you can effectively communicate to all the voters that you can't see one-on-one via an immense field operation, paid media, all those things. So part of my path is that I have to, of course, raise the resources to defeat Jeff Frank.
Thank you.
And do the hard work and communicate with them and get national success.
You don't get to roll over time. Zuri, thank you.
Okay, so one of the biggest things that I think Democrats make a mistake about is they're like, we have to flip this seat. And they mistake every single election for the war instead of a battle in the war. We need to make it so that people trust Democrats. So that when we're in office, people are excited to vote for us. Not vote for me, I'm better than the other guy. Vote for me, because I'm gonna do awesome stuff for you. I'm gonna fight for you, and I'm gonna tell you step by step if I'm not able to get it done, why I'm not able to get it done, and how I plan to try to make sure that I do get it done. And that's how I plan to go forward. I handed out flyers at the VA. Parade, I said, I'm running for Congress, healthcare, unions, affordability. Everyone took my flyer because people resonate with somebody that's gonna actually do good for them.
And time, thank you, Justice.
Everybody stand up in this room right now. Everybody on this panel, everybody in this room, get yourselves up. Yes, I know it might hurt a little bit, but we needed to stretch anyway. This is how we're gonna do it, right here, all of us. This is how we're gonna, not just me, not just them, all of us. So now y'all need to do your job too. Work together so we can get this happening. So somebody needs to make this shit work.
That's right. And thank you for the stretch break. We appreciate that. And within your 45 seconds. Well done. Joe?
I like what Zuri said about trust, because I do think that's the problem. Democrat or Republican, we are lacking trust in politics today. And one of the things that I am most proud about, when I see you out in the community, the number of people that say, wow, Joe, you're everywhere. When do you sleep? Sundays. You got to be there, right? And you had to have been, right? We can't just show up and ask for people's votes when it's time to vote. You got to bring solutions, and that is what I've been doing. And on the technical side, already into this election, we have a huge field campaign. We have an internship program. We have people that are call banking. We have people that are engaging voters now, hearing the voices of voters that have not been engaged before.
And that's time. Thank you. We're gonna keep it spicy because I'm Korean and I like spicy. All right, so do you believe that ICE is acting under the rule of law and due process? We're gonna start with you, Justice.
I know I didn't just hear you say what I heard.
Well, it's not my question, but shout out to whoever wrote it. Do you believe that ICE is acting under the rule of law and due process?
Anybody committing mass genocide is not working under the rule of any law. Anyone committing acts of tyranny, terrorism, for the sake of calling it religious freedom is a scary thing for us to think about. So they may be acting under a rule of their own law, but it's certainly not ours. So that's how I feel about that. No, I don't think that they're acting under our rules or our laws. They're acting under their own.
Thank you. Jessica, 45 seconds. No. The great thing about this country is rule of law and adherence to law, and that is not what we're seeing. What we're seeing is lawless behavior, and it's putting our communities of color in fear, making children afraid to go to school. My own husband, who's here, who happens to be brown, is now carrying around his passport for domestic travel. This is crazy. And we must get reined in, and that's what Congress is for. Congress has to put a check on the administration and do its job and make sure that we can end this lawlessness immediately.
Thank you, Joe.
I think we're gonna have universal agreement on the no. I want to emphasize the rule of law, the due process piece. This administration, Jeff Crank personally, has said that due process is inconvenient. Think about that. What rights exist without due process? We have none. And especially when we're talking to our Republicans in this community that are going to be serious about this, the Second Amendment, your Second Amendment rights are worthless without due process. Your First Amendment rights, worthless without due process. It is up to Congress to change this and bring back that authority and hold this administration accountable. That's what we need to be doing. That's how you're writing this back in. And that's why exactly it should be evidence to everyone.
And time, thank you, Zuri, 45 seconds.
We need to abolish ICE. At a certain point, I said they need to have signed warrants specific to the person signed by a judge. We needed to have them have badge numbers. At this point, they are just attacking people. They are masked men attacking people on the street. This is not something that can be reformed. This is an insult to our Constitution. It's an insult to human rights. It's an insult to humanity in our community. And we need to stand up and get rid of this because it's just utter cruelty. It's disgusting. It's disturbing. I had a woman tell me that at the hospital, ICE tried to come in after a man had a severe accident and they tried to push themselves in and arrest a man who was in intensive care. That is psychotic.
And that is time. Okay, this is a very timely question. It is a layered question, so please feel free to answer as you see fit. What do you think about how the shutdown ended? Would you have handled it differently in the minority leader's shoes? Why or why not? Joe.
Yeah, you know, in a community where we are so impacted by government employment, obviously making sure that our government employees and working early in this process to make sure that those government employees, including our military, was paid would have been important. Democrats should not have surrendered where we're at, because right now, everyone in our community is now going to see our health insurance costs, right? If we had real leadership in the Democratic Party, they would have stood up and stood for what they actually believe in. And we're not seeing that. I'm running not just because I want to beat Republicans, but because our Democratic leadership is failing us. They have forgotten where we are from and what we stand for. And that is exactly what we need to be doing now.
Thank you. Justice?
I feel mixed right now about that shutdown ending because I am a firm believer to fight to the end, see it work, see it happen, see you get everything that you're looking for as a whole. So for me, it was like, is this a strategy? Did this happen because, you know, you guys wanted to release those Epstein files? Because you wanted to see some type of sort of change happening there, because it happened. They opened up those files as soon as it opened back up, and they wanted us to believe that this was the motivation to do that. So I think
And time. Thank you. Jessica? Sure. What do you think about how the shutdown ended?
I was at Care and Share yesterday and I was talking to them about and they were so relieved that SNAP benefits were starting up again. And I also saw a government employee today who was looking forward to getting his paycheck again. So I understand the palpable relief in this community and communities across our country about having the government reopen. That said, I do believe we should have worked harder to negotiate the ACA subsidies. To capitulate at this point and then basically allow people's healthcare premiums to double going into this. We got nothing, and people endured a huge amount of pain for 40+ days for nothing, and that's not the way leadership works.
Thank you. Zuri, 45 seconds.
And I'm gonna get this wrong, but it's snatching defeat from the jaws of victory, once again, being led by New York Dems who are not used to having to fight for their seat, hurts people. If we're going to make people struggle, if we're going to risk all of this. We have to stand strong for the people that we represent. And right now, they doubly hurt us because the ACA tax credits are now tied possibly to abortion rights and abortion funding. So they actually put us in a worse position than when we had started. So we have to be very clear that we need to provide good policy for people and we need to fight for it. If we don't fight, if we don't push the Overton window of what is possible for people in our country,
And
it's
time.
not gonna work.
Thank you. Okay, so now we have some questions that are a little bit specific to where we live right now in the context of where do you live and how long have you lived here? We're gonna start with you, Zuri, 45 seconds.
Okay. I was born in Colorado Springs. My grandparents moved here in 1954. They drove around the country and they found this to be the best place in the world to live. I think it's one of the most beautiful places on earth. We went and vacationed in Taos in Mexico, and my sister and I were driving back and we were like, this is more beautiful. And then I graduated from Cheyenne Mountain High School and I went to Colorado College. I moved around a bunch, came back here, and I live in Old Colorado City, and it's a great neighborhood. So thanks, everybody. I love Colorado Springs, and it's great to be home here.
Jessica, thank you. As I mentioned at the onset, I'm a fourth generation Coloradan. I was born in La Jara, which is south of Alamosa. My parents moved here to Colorado Springs when I was in elementary school. This is the place, this is my home, this is where I grew up. I did leave Colorado to go serve the military, serve my country, develop my career, and move back in this spring after working at the White House. I live over by the Broadmoor and I love being here. I love being home. It's great to be home with my parents, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, and my sisters. Thanks. Thank you. Justice.
Take it to the south side, straight up. That's where I live, and that's where I'm from. Yes, I'm from New York City, but Colorado Springs South Side is my home. That's the birthplace for my son. They're first generation Coloradans. I'm not, but I found this to be my home, away from home, and I intend to keep it that way. I've been here for almost 16 years, and I intend to stay.
Thank you, Justice. And last but certainly not least, Joe.
You know, being in the military, I've had the opportunity to live all over this country. And when it came time to make a choice as to where to live, this was the first place in a long time that felt home. It's difficult in the military to make that transition. And it's proud that I lived off of really Gate 2 in Fort Carson, so the southwest side of town. And my son goes to elementary school just down the street from us. My older son is going to Cheyenne Mountain Junior High. And it's exciting to see them build those roots there, right? We don't get to choose where we're born, but we get to choose who we surround ourselves. We get to choose where we live. And here feels home. It's my kids' home. It'll be my grandkids' home. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay. And we are going to have one more question before we go to closing remarks. Okay. The last question, which I definitely used all of my bias in choosing it. And again, you have 45 seconds. We will start with Jessica. Why do residents of the Southeast only see the candidates when you need our votes? Then we don't hear from you. Well, that won't be the case with me. I'm obviously here today. We're doing a coffee with Killen this week at Stomping Ground, so I invite everyone to be there. I think it's important, as I've said before, as a member of the House of Representatives, to represent all components of your community and reach out to every component of that community. And that includes everywhere from Monument to Palmer Lake to Falcon, where I grew up. I forgot to mention I grew up out over on the east side, all the way to Fountain and of course the Southeast. And that's my plan, is to be engaged and out everywhere doing the hard work to earn every vote. Thank you. Thank you. Justice?
First of all, the South Side doesn't only hear from me for votes. They hear from me all the time because they're always like, Justice, why are you always here? Why are you always somewhere? Like, if you don't know my face by now, you're definitely going to know it. So trust and believe. The South Side is not going to only see me because of a vote, but we absolutely do need to be voting. Like, y'all need to get out here. Y'all need to act like it matters, because for some reasons, we've grown to believe that our voices do not count because those votes are not expelling that. I showed it by us winning the Freedom to Marry campaign in the South Side. We live in one of the most conservative districts. Let's get it going, y'all. We a purple state right now. Let's get it going and turn it blue.
Thank you. And Zuri,
So I lead People Center Colorado Springs, which tracks all the crashes in El Paso County. So prior to this, I did get around with that. And I also worked like right when I got here, making an event for the John Lewis Voting Rights Act with Regina English and Tony Exum. So I've kind of always been very invested in the entire county because I feel like it all works together. And if we're talking about transportation, if we're talking about affordable housing, you have to know how every piece works together to make it work for everybody who lives here. And I know that the Southeast has been traditionally neglected. I also work with Lily Gibson Green on walkability. She's amazing. You know, she takes the lead in the Southeast because she knows the area, but we always try to support each other in terms of advocacy.
And Joe.
You know, it's not just the Southeast that feels unheard, right? There's so many different communities that feel as if their representatives aren't showing up. Right? Like this week, we have another empty chair town hall because Jeff Crank doesn't show up. Right? My kids play Little League just down the street from here. The work that I've been doing in the nonprofit community has me out in every part of this district, every part of this state. And I want to continue that. Right? When we look at being aggressive and getting out to these people and meeting people where they're at, that shouldn't be a campaign strategy. That's supposed to be the job. It's supposed to be demonstrating how we're going to lead. And you've seen that in the work that I'm doing in the nonprofit sector, and it's not going to change when I get elected.
Thank you. Okay, now, may I get with a head nod that every single person on today's town hall is a registered Democrat?
Yes.
Thank you. So this next question is simply a yes or no question. There will be a primary. If you lose in the primary, will you unequivocally support the Democratic candidate who wins and tell your supporters to do the same? Again, yes or no question, starting with Joe.
Did it last cycle? I'll do it this cycle.
Yes or no, sir? Yes or no? Say yes.
Yes.
Justice?
Absolutely.
Yes or no?
Yes, Kim, I will support them, and I want to see us thrive, so yes, yes.
Jessica? Yes. There you go.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Leave it to the ladies. Okay, so we are going to give you about 90 seconds to just take a breath, grab some water, and just prepare your thoughts for your closing remarks. I do want to make sure to check in with Kevin or Joaquin to make sure there's no announcements that need to be made. I do believe that there was a clipboard of some sort going around for emails. So please make sure you sign up, provide a valid email and also have legible writing, okay? And then I would be remiss if I did not mention Pikes Peak Bulletin is who put on today's town hall. So shout out to independent journalists.
You can clap.
Clap without. So, thank you, Mr. Mobley, who is the proud owner of Pikes Peak Bulletin. Thank you. Publisher, excuse me. Thank you so much for that. As you can see, I have a huge stack of questions here. Know that your questions are all very important. What we will do is we will transcribe these and we will actually get them to all of the candidates who are here tonight. So it will be on them on how they would like to utilize that information. But we will make sure that all of these questions are transcribed and given to all the candidates. So now wow, we are only 1 minute behind schedule. We are doing good, y'all.
And as well as the people online and asking the questions in chat. And some of the issues have already been addressed well.
Thank you so much. And yes, shout out to our online people. I actually can see them to my peripheral, so that's actually kind of cool. Okay, so our 2-minute remarks. Let me get my timer together so that we can be completely on track here. Oh no, it's too much pressure. I'm not ready. Okay. Seriously, I'm not ready. Okay, 2 minutes, and we are going to go in alphabetical order. So starting with Zuri, you have 2 minutes.
Hi, so just a reminder, I'm fighting for universal healthcare, affordable housing, good union jobs, making sure we fully reform our government so that it's a functional democracy again, and fighting really hard for it, even if it seems hard now. The more people we have in Congress who believe in actual change and will fight for actual change without being tied to corporate interests will move our country in a good direction. If we do not do that, it will always be one step forward, two steps back. If you have any questions, I love talking. I love talking about policy. I have a meet and greet on Wednesday at Jives from 3 to 6. Stop on by. And also, if you can't make that time, if you have more questions, go contact me via my website and I'll answer your question. And we can also meet for coffee or talk on the phone, and I'm happy. And I really want to hear what issues are important to you, because like I always like to say, it's great to have a good policy, but implementation matters deeply. If I have universal health care, but you cannot access the portal or you cannot get in-person appointments, that is something that I need to know from you as constituents. If you do not have enough services in your region, I need to know that, because whatever beautiful policy I have, if we don't implement it correctly, it just doesn't matter. So thank you guys so much for your time, and it's Zuri for CD5. Stop on by and check me out. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Zuri. Jessica, you have 2 minutes. Thank you again, Kimberly, Pikes Peak Bulletin, my fellow candidates, and all of you for being here tonight. This is one of my favorite parts about running for Congress, is engaging with the community, listening to questions, answering questions, hearing about people's concerns. And this was a great way to do this, and really appreciate everyone engaging in that. Listen, one thing I'm going to disagree with Zuri on, I think we do have to flip the seat. We have to win. We have to win we talked about a lot of really important policy issues tonight. And the only way you can start to make change is by winning. And I strongly believe, I'm going to tell you right now, no one will fight harder to win this seat, and no one will fight harder to keep it, and to do right by this community and give this community the leadership that it deserves. And that means being out and being engaged and being in every part of El Paso County that I can be. So I really would appreciate your support. I think it's absolutely critical that we get Jeff Frank out of office. And if it's not, it's about, for sure, providing more leadership to this county, but also we have to put a check on the Trump administration and its lawless behavior, its corruption, and its overreach. And the only way we can do that is by flipping the House of Representatives in 2026. And believe it or not, the path to flipping the House runs through CD5. So I'd appreciate your vote. I will earn every vote. You can reach me at killenforcolorado.com. I'm also doing regular coffees with Killen. We're doing regular house parties. Would love to have your support. Would love to talk to you more. If you're a skeptic, come talk to me. Let's chat. Thank you. Thank you, Jessica. Justice?
First of all, I want to thank Community Anchors Academy for having this. This is something unheard of in the South Side. Pikes Peak Bulletin, you guys already know. I know I'm not the typical face of the candidates you typically see. I'm the everyday person fighting for all of us, and I mean all of us. I'm a graduate of Pennsylvania State University, and I hold a bachelor's degree of arts and a bachelor of science in psychology, sociology, and social behavioral science. We can do this. I come from low income. I come from what looks like middle class to most. I come from the streets. I come from corporate. I come from all walks of life. You want for yourself, you want for your people what you want for yourself. And as far as I'm concerned, we all want justice. So I'm going to end this with this. Truly get out there and vote for justice. Not just me, justice for us all. Just like Andre 3000 said at Outcast inauguration into the Rock Hall of Fame, greatness was made in small rooms. Have a good night.
Thank you, Justice. And Joe, you have 2 minutes.
I cannot tell you exactly how impressive this is to see so many people. So again, thank you for being part of this democratic process so early. That is what this campaign, what my campaign has been built off of. It is about our community. It is about our families. It is about doing what is right and hearing those voices that for too long have been unheard by elites in Washington, Democrats and Republicans. I have spent my life serving this country in the military and a nonprofit leader. getting out there, finding those hard solutions. If you want to know how we fix things in this community, I'm the one that's been out there trying to figure it out already. I know the people that know the answers. We can do it together. Because our community deserves those solutions that are grounded in reality, not something that is made up in Washington from people that are disconnected from what's happening on our ground today. We have an opportunity to redefine our political landscape, right? For too long, Washington insiders have defined for us what it means to be a Democrat or Republican. And now when I look at this room, I see an opportunity to stand back up and say, we want people that represent the community. We get to send the first Democrat to Congress from this district. It truly is a historic opportunity, and it's going to take all of us. It's going to take all of us digging just a little bit deeper to do it. I am extraordinarily proud of the fact that when you look at my campaign, it has not been funded by outside dollars. All of those donors are coming right here from El Paso County. And the ones that are outside are people that have known me since I was a child. But that's because when we are talking about getting, supporting this campaign is about making sure that we're engaging voters. Every one of those donors is a voter. And we're going to make the most of that. And that's why I'm really proud to be able to do this. But I need your support. I need you to get out there with me, whether it's financial, whether you're volunteering, whether you're making calls. There is a place for each and every one of you on this campaign. ReganForColorado.com.
All right, everybody please give a large round of applause to all of us and we go. Thank you so much for listening. And I continue to tell for your help for being here on Club Democracy on Saturday night.